Welcome to tonight's sleep story. Let's drift into a soothing story together as you begin your journey into a restful and rejuvenating sleep. The morning light filters through the curtains, spilling soft warmth across the dining table. The mother sits quietly, preparing breakfast, her movements practiced and gentle. The children chatter at the table, laughing occasionally, their voices filled with energy. But the mother does not smile back as she usually would. There is a weight in her heart, an unspoken sadness that clings to her like a shadow. This morning feels ordinary on the surface, but something deeper, something intangible, stirs within her as the children continue their conversation. The mother's thoughts drift. She watches them, but her mind is preoccupied. She glances at her husband, who is absorbed in his newspaper, his face tired and weary. She feels a pang in her chest. Though they sit together at the same table, she feels a growing distance between them, an invisible gap that widens every day. The warmth that once filled their home is no longer as vibrant. It's not gone, but it feels distant, as if a layer of coldness has crept in. Her heart aches with the realization. How did they get to this point? How did they become so detached from each other? She tries to recall the days when their home was filled with laughter, when each meal together was an occasion for shared joy. But those days now seem like a distant memory, something she longs for but isn't sure how to get back to. The mother sets down the spoon she's been stirring with and takes a sip of water, trying to gather her thoughts. The quiet settles over her like a heavy blanket, and she wonders how to bring warmth back to her family. She looks out the window, as if the outside world holds the answer. But the world outside is just as busy, just as loud. Her thoughts turn inward. She thinks of the days when she and her husband shared everything when the children were younger, and their days were filled with shared moments, hugs, and laughter. But now, she feels like a stranger in her own home, lost in the sea of silence. Her gaze lingers on her husband, still buried in his paper. The quiet, the separation, it all feels so foreign to her now. She wants to reach out, to speak, but the words won't come. How did their connection slip away so silently, so gradually? Her heart sinks further as she realizes that she's no longer sure how to fix it. She doesn't even know where to begin. But one thing is clear. She must be the one to begin the change. If her family is to find its way back, it has to start with her. She takes a deep breath and sets her water cup down, her mind made up. The journey will be long and difficult, but if anyone can rebuild the bond they've lost, it's her. With love, patience, and effort, she believes they can find their way back to the warmth they once had. But it starts now. The silence that has gripped their home will not be the final word. She will be the one to speak up, to act, and to bring her family back together. The mother's heart continues to carry an inexplicable sense of loneliness. Though she has made the decision to repair the distance in her family, the confusion and anxiety within her remain. She realizes that this is not merely about making daily changes, but about a deep, internal awakening. Often, late at night, she lies in bed, reflecting on it all. She understands now that she, too, has played an undeniable role in this disconnect, not just as the victim, but also in the ways she may have contributed to the growing distance. Without even noticing it, as time goes on, the mother begins to reflect on her relationship with her husband. She remembers the days when they were younger, when they would plan for the future and talk about their dreams together. Back then, they relied on each other, filled with hopes for their family life. But now, their relationship feels hollow, as if they are two drifting stars still close, but gradually losing their connection. The mother recalls the quiet walks they used to take under the moonlight, dreaming together, making plans for the life they would build. It was a time when her life felt full of hope and direction. But over the years, work, responsibility, and the weight of daily life slowly wore away at that warmth. She realizes that her husband's busyness, as well as her own neglect, has silently driven this emotional distance. At the same time, her children have grown older and have their own lives. She sees them immersed in their own worlds, seeming to need her less and less. She feels a sense of abandonment, a loneliness that stems not only from her husband's distance, but also from her own loss of self. She has become the manager of the household, immersed in duties and caregiving. But over time, she has forgotten that she is a living, breathing individual with her own dreams and feelings. The mother cannot help but ask herself, have I forgotten the person I once was? In giving so much to the family, have I overlooked my own inner voice? She feels an emptiness inside, a longing for love, yet she finds it difficult to express. She knows that repairing the relationship is not something that can be solved merely with words. It must start from within herself, from shifting her mindset and lifestyle. That night, as she lies in bed again, the wind outside gently rustles the curtains, bringing a cool breeze. She closes her eyes and takes a deep breath, and a thought, long forgotten, surfaces in her mind. Perhaps she should reclaim her own dreams, find the passionate and idealistic self she once was. She realizes she no longer needs to define herself solely as a mother and wife. She must reconnect with her identity as a woman, as an independent individual. She decides that starting tomorrow, she will carve out time for herself, creating space for her inner voice. She will re-establish communication with her husband, breaking the silence between them. She will openly connect with her children, understanding their needs. She will also rediscover her own dreams and passions, All of this begins with an awakening, from within a realization that family harmony and happiness are not merely about fulfilling external roles and responsibilities, but about the real and authentic connection each person has with them. Selves. Asterisk. As the days passed, the mother began to feel a deeper awareness of her own needs. She no longer saw herself solely as the one who gives for the family, but as someone who must also listen to her inner voice. She realized that change does not always start from the outside. It begins with a shift inside. She decided to reassess her roles as a wife, a mother, and as a woman, and try to find space for her own desires and needs outside of her family responsibilities. One morning, while preparing breakfast, the mother paused, a rare moment of stillness overcoming her. She looked out the window, feeling a newfound clarity. She realized that, despite all her efforts to keep the family running, taking care of the children, supporting her husband, she had long neglected to take care of herself. She had placed herself last, constantly striving for the perfection of the family, but had overlooked her own emotional and spiritual needs. She decided that from now on, she would carve out time for herself. She started waking up an hour earlier each day, sitting on the balcony, listening to the birds sing, and feeling the first rays of the sun warming her skin. These brief moments of quiet became her time to reflect, to relax, and to reconnect with herself. Though short, these moments brought her peace and strength, allowing her to rediscover who she was. Asterisk. At the same time, the mother began to communicate more openly with her husband. One quiet evening, she gently shared her feelings with him. She told him that while she had always given her all for the family, she also longed for more attention and understanding, wanting to find more resonance within their relationship. Her husband listened quietly, nodding, and after a pause, softly replied, "I know you've been giving so much for us. I realize there's distance between us, and I want to change, too. I want to support you better." In that moment, the mother felt a warmth she hadn't felt in a long time. She knew this was just the beginning, but the sincerity of his response gave her hope. Perhaps reconnecting the family didn't have to be an instant fix, but something that required patience and care. She felt that their communication was slowly being restored, and the bridge of understanding was quietly being built. In the following days, the mother also began to establish deeper connections with her children. She didn't just focus on household chores and education, but took the time to truly understand their inner worlds. She noticed that sometimes her children just needed someone to listen, someone to hear about their school troubles, their friendships, and even their dreams. The mother gave them more attention and care, and gradually, the children began to open up more and share their thoughts with her. Asterisk. One night, after dinner, the mother and father had a quiet conversation in their bedroom. The father mentioned some work difficulties, and the mother listened, offering suggestions here and there, though challenges still existed. Their communication had become more fluid, and the understanding and support between them had grown stronger. The mother began to realize that while life's burdens were still present, they were facing them together, hand in hand, moving forward into the future. As the days passed, the atmosphere in the house began to shift. The mother no longer felt isolated from her family. She had found a balance within herself and learned how to take care of herself, while also caring for others. The home was no longer a cold, distant place, but a warm sanctuary filled with love and understanding. Each family member had grown in this process, and their relationships had become deeper and more meaningful as the days passed. The mother felt a noticeable shift within herself. She was no longer just a busy wife and mother. She was rediscovering the woman she once was, full of dreams and vitality. She realized that the happiness of her family was not just determined by how much she gave to them, but also by whether she could truly care for herself, finding her own voice. She stopped allowing herself to be overwhelmed by the minutiae of daily life and started actively seeking opportunities to connect deeply with her family. One weekend, the mother suggested they take a walk in the park as a family, enjoying a day free from phones and work. She didn't push her husband to join, but gently proposed, "Let's go for a walk in the park today. With the kids, let's leave work and phones behind and just enjoy some simple time together." Her husband looked at her and nodded silently. "Sounds good. It's been a while since I've had a chance to relax like this," he replied. At the park, the family started to engage more with each other. The children ran off to play in the grass, their laughter filling the air, and the mother's heart lightened with each sound. She noticed that, though there was still some hesitation at first, as they began sharing little stories from school, their bond deepened. Her husband occasionally joined in the conversation, and his gaze, once distant, now held warmth and attentiveness. The mother began to feel the bonds within the family, slowly rebuilding, though still fragile. Each conversation, each moment spent together, felt like a bridge being restored. She no longer feared loneliness or neglect, as she had learned to nurture herself and, in doing so, learned how to meet her family's needs as well. In the following weeks, the mother made sure to continue spending device-free, work-free time with her family every week. She took the children to the playground, to the local library, and sometimes they just cooked meals together at home. Each family activity became another opportunity to connect with each other. On a deeper level, the mother slowly realized that her understanding of her children grew stronger. They also began to trust her more, sharing their troubles and concerns openly. Her husband, too, began to break his silence. Every evening, he began to ask the children about their day and talk to the mother about their feelings and thoughts. In these simple conversations, they started to rediscover their emotional connection. The mother watched as her husband slowly let go of the burden he had been carrying, and she felt a deep sense of relief. She knew they had come a long way from their silent period, and now they were rebuilding their emotional ties. One evening, the mother and father sat on the couch, watching the children play in the living room. The mother softly said to her husband, "I really hope this warmth continues, always." Her husband looked at her, nodded, and said, "I hope so too. Let's make sure nothing gets in the way of this. Let's enjoy this family." As the family life slowly regains its warmth and harmony, the relationship between the mother and her family grows deeper. Every shared activity, every heartfelt conversation becomes a new source of strength, allowing them to face difficulties with greater resolve. The mother realizes that a home is not just a physical space. It is the sanctuary of each person's heart, the result of mutual experiences and effort. She understands now that happiness does not come from external perfection, but from inner fulfillment and the appreciation of one another. Throughout this process, the mother's mindset undergoes a profound transformation. She no longer sees herself as the sacrificer of the family, no longer the one who gives without receiving. She understands that the harmony of the family requires everyone's active participation. And only when everyone is genuinely involved can the family truly flourish and be happy. She no longer feels like just the caretaker for her children or the supporter of her husband. She has rediscovered her strength as an individual, as a mother, a wife, and as a woman of value and dignity. Her mood has lightened, and the responsibilities of the household no longer weigh heavily on her. She has learned to balance her roles, setting aside time for herself while also offering more love and support to her family. She knows now that maintaining close connections within the family is not a one-time task, but something that must be continuously nurtured in daily life. She no longer feels burdened by the family, but empowered by the sense of responsibility and motivation it brings. One weekend, the mother and father decide together to take the children on a trip out of town for a weekend getaway. This simple decision marks another step forward in the revival of their relationship. On the road, the children begin to share their thoughts with their parents, talking about funny things at school and their dreams. The mother and father, instead of merely listening, begin to actively share their own thoughts and experiences, increasing the interaction between them. During this trip, the mother feels a long-lost sense of relaxation. She watches as her husband and the children interact with a familiarity and closeness that had long been absent, and she feels the bond between them quietly restoring. This simple getaway is not just an external journey. It becomes a journey of the heart, bringing them back to the warmth they once had. Asterisk when they return home. The mother and father sit on the sofa, exchanging looks filled with gratitude and understanding. She softly says to him, "The changes we've made in this time are so significant. I feel closer to you and to the children more than ever." The husband nods and smiles in response. "I feel the same. It's like we've rediscovered each other." This sense of reconnection fills the mother with immense contentment. She knows this is just the beginning. The harmony of their family is an ongoing process that requires everyone's collective effort. Her heart is filled with renewed hope, and she no longer fears the challenges ahead. For she understands that no matter what happens, the bonds of their family have been firmly rooted. As the family relationships gradually healed, the mother felt an unprecedented sense of peace and fulfillment. Every time she looked at her husband and children's smiling faces, her heart was filled with a deep warmth. The cold eyes and distant moments that once plagued them seemed to have been smoothed away by time, replaced with care and support for each other. Home had once again become a true sanctuary, not just a place to live. This period of change had made the mother realize that the happiness of a family does not come from external conditions, but from authentic communication and care within each member. She had once lost herself in the busyness of life and neglected her inner voice. Now, she had rediscovered the passionate, idealistic woman she once was and learned how to find her place within the family. She was no longer the silent sacrificer, but a woman with value and a voice in her family. Her relationship with her husband had also undergone a huge transformation. Once, they had grown distant in long periods of silence, but now, through daily communication and mutual effort, they had begun to rebuild a deeper trust and understanding. Her husband had become more considerate, taking the initiative to care about the children's well-being and discuss the future of the family with her. Whenever he saw the weariness in her eyes, he would offer to take on more household tasks or take the children to the park, giving the mother a much-needed break. The mother knew this transformation didn't happen overnight, but she understood that it was this steady, flowing effort that had restored their relationship. The connection between the mother and children also became closer. She was no longer just their mother, but became their friend and supporter. She began listening with more patience to their concerns, understanding their struggles at school and the challenges of growing up. Every time she saw them share their thoughts openly with her, she felt a deep sense of joy and satisfaction. She realized that being a mother wasn't about overprotecting them, but about giving them the space to grow and express themselves. A few months later, the mother and father decided to host a family gathering, inviting relatives and friends to celebrate. together. This simple decision held deep significance. It wasn't just a family gathering. It was a symbol of their family's rebuilding. During the preparations, the mother no longer felt anxious or burdened, but felt an excitement and anticipation she hadn't experienced in years. She and her husband worked together to decorate the house, and they cooked with the children, finding fulfillment and happiness in every shared task. On the day of the gathering, the house was filled with laughter and joy. Relatives congratulated them, admiring the harmony of their family, and everyone shared beautiful moments together. The mother looked at her family gathered around her and felt immense gratitude and pride. She knew it wasn't a perfect gathering, but it symbolized the transformation they had undergone, representing how they had emerged from their struggles and rediscovered love and trust in each other. After the gathering, the mother and father sat by the window, reflecting on the changes they had experienced. Her husband took her hand and gently said, "We really did it." The mother smiled down, her eyes glistening with tears, but they were tears of joy. "Yes, we did," she whispered in response. As the family bonds continue to heal, the mother and father begin to look forward to the life ahead. They are no longer just reacting to the challenges before them, but are starting to envision a future that is more fulfilling and meaningful. The mother slowly comes to realize that family harmony is not a static condition, but a dynamic process that requires continual effort and nurturing. She knows that the first step toward rebuilding their intimacy has been taken, but the road ahead still requires both of them to walk it hand in hand. At this point, the mother begins to reimagine her own future, no longer defined solely by the burdens of family. She starts to rediscover her curiosity and passion for the world around her. She begins to explore interests and dreams that had been sidelined by the busyness of life. She signs up for short writing courses, uses her weekends to travel with friends to explore new cities, and even starts experimenting with new dishes and recipes at home. The father, too, has started to slow down at work. Though his job is still demanding, he places greater importance on spending time with the family. He suggests that they plan a family outing every month, whether it's a short trip to a nearby town or a visit to a park for a weekend getaway. These brief excursions bring joy and laughter to the family, helping them relax while creating cherished memories and growing even closer. The children, too, are finding their own rhythms. As they grow older, they are becoming more independent and confident, developing their own ideas and interests. The relationship between the parents and children has shifted from one of authority to one of partnership and mutual respect. The children now initiate conversations with their parents, sharing their thoughts, concerns, and dreams, and the parents respond with more understanding and patience. One evening, The mother and father take a walk together at dusk, the fading light of the sun casting a gentle glow over their surroundings. The mother feels a deep sense of peace. She leans her head on her husband's shoulder and softly says, "We've come so far, haven't we? Even though there are still many challenges ahead, I believe we'll face them together." Her husband gently holds her hand and responds with a smile. "Yes, we've made it through the hardest part. I believe in our future, too." He pauses, adding with a chuckle, "As long as we love each other, there's nothing we can't overcome." The mother takes a deep breath, feeling a sense of contentment and calm she has never felt before. In this moment, she knows that, no matter how uncertain the future may be, the bond between her and her family is strong. They have built enough trust and love to face whatever challenges lie ahead. Every road they have traveled, every hardship they have overcome, has led them to this point of unity and happiness. The mother understands that family happiness does not mean an absence of struggles, but the ability to lean on each other in the face of challenges, walking forward together. With this deep trust and love, they will face each new day, side by side. As the days went by, the mother noticed subtle changes in each member of the family. Her relationship with her husband had grown stronger and more intimate. They had begun to find balance in their companionship, learning how to better support and understand one another. Once, they often fought over trivial matters, their understanding and patience in short supply. But now, the family had become more than just a physical space. It had transformed into a place of emotional exchange, a true sanctuary. The mother felt that every conversation, every dialogue, was a small breakthrough in their growth. Whether it was a simple daily chat or a discussion about their future plans, their understanding and support for each other had quietly accumulated. She saw her husband becoming lighter, the weariness on his face slowly fading, and his gaze softening. He no longer focused solely on work, but had begun actively participating in family life. He helped the children with their homework, worked alongside the mother to tidy up the house, and even suggested taking them on weekend trips to enjoy the quiet of nature. During this time, the mother realized that their changes didn't come from external pressures or sudden events, but from an internal awakening and a commitment to each other. She understood now that family happiness required the active involvement of everyone, not just one person's sacrifices, but the collective effort of all the members. She also learned to find balance between taking care of her family and taking care of herself. She no longer repressed her own needs, but learned to express her thoughts and feelings within the family. The changes in the children were also becoming evident. As a mother, she noticed how they were transitioning from relying on her to relying more on their own thinking and judgment. They once revolved around her, seeking her help and comfort. But now, they had their own ideas and desires, and they began to share their future aspiration with her. The mother saw her children maturing, and she realized that she had played an important role in that process. She was no longer the all-powerful protector, but rather a supporter and guide for her children's growth. At a family gathering one evening, the mother and father sat together and quietly discussed their future plans. The father mentioned a potential career change, and the mother shared her dreams for the next few years. She wanted more time to travel, to experience different cultures, and to explore fields she had never touched before. Her eyes sparkled with the enthusiasm of rediscovering herself. She looked at her husband, and he smiled back, nodding in support. "I think that's a great plan. You should go for it." The mother's heart filled with gratitude and warmth. She realized that family harmony and happiness weren't a sudden eruption of emotions, but the result of daily accumulation of every small change. She and her husband and children had grown together in this process, and their understanding and tolerance had made the family stronger. In a world full of challenges, they had learned how to find strength together, how to face difficulties hand in hand. She knew that the journey was far from over, that there would be more challenges and uncertainties ahead. But no matter what, she knew that family would always be her strongest support. She no longer feared the storms of life, because she understood that, as long as they worked together, their family's strength was enough to overcome any obstacle. The mother felt an unprecedented sense of fulfillment in her heart. The road ahead was unknown, but she was ready to walk it with her family, to greet every new dawn together. As the days went by, the mother felt a deep sense of belonging and security that family gave her. Every moment spent with her husband and children confirmed that her family was her warmest harbor. The emptiness and anxiety she once felt had now been replaced with understanding and support from her family. She began to realize that the meaning of life wasn't just in achieving personal success, but in sharing those simple yet precious moments with her loved ones. This period of change not only made the mother stronger, but also helped stabilize her relationship with her husband. He had become more attentive to the family, no longer letting work consume all his time and energy. Whenever he sat down with the mother to share their feelings, she felt a warmth and contentment. The mother knew that this restoration of their relationship wasn't an instant fix, but required both of them to work through the small, everyday efforts of communication and understanding. In the process of her children's growth, the mother also saw many changes. She noticed how they were becoming more independent, developing their own interests and opinions. The mother was no longer their sole dependence, but had become their trusted friend and supporter. The communication between her and the children became more natural, as they began to share their struggles and dreams with her. The mother understood that her children were moving into a new stage of life, and her role in their lives was evolving not just as a provider of material and emotional support, but also as a guide to their maturity. As time passed, the mother began to cherish every moment spent with her family even more. She no longer saw herself on the periphery of her family, but fully immersed in it, enjoying every bit of joy shared with her husband and children. She started taking her husband to activities they once loved, watching movies together, going on short trips, rediscovering the vibrant emotions they had when they were younger. Her children, too, began to engage more in family activities, no longer lost in their own worlds, but joining their parents in planning future trips and discussing matters of the household. Every member of the family seemed to find their unique place during this process. One day, the mother and father stood by the window, watching the golden sunlight fall over the garden, and felt a sense of peacefulness. She leaned her head on her husband's shoulder and smiled, saying, "I feel like we've finally found that long-lost sense of peace." Her husband turned to her, gently holding her hand, and replied, "I feel the same. This warmth and tranquility are something we should cherish." The mother felt her heart fill, knowing that this family had gone through many difficulties and changes, but most importantly, they were still united. The true strength of the family didn't come from external perfection, but from the sincerity and support within each member's heart. From the daily understanding and tolerance they offered each other, the mother knew that the road ahead was still uncertain, that life would bring more challenges and ups and downs, but she no longer feared the future. She understood that as long as the family stood together, they could overcome anything and face whatever came ahead. She looked into her husband's eyes, filled with gratitude. "No matter what the future holds, I want to walk through it with you all." Her husband gently embraced her and whispered, "So do I, no matter the storm. We'll walk through it together." As time passed, the mother felt the family bonds growing stronger, and the communication and understanding between family members became smoother and more natural. She no longer worried about past rifts, pain, and distance because she knew those were things of the past. Now, each person listened to one another with care, understanding each other's needs and thoughts. The family's relationship gradually returned to the warmth it once had, even stronger than before. The mother and father not only came to a deeper understanding in family matters, but also began to find common ground in other aspects of life. The father no longer spent most of his time consumed by work, but actively participated in every little detail of the family. He and the mother planned family trips together and discussed future plans. Every time he saw the weariness in her eyes, He would take on more responsibilities to give her the rest she deserved. The mother felt the deep support and care from her husband, and she gradually stopped feeling like she was the only one. Giving to the family happiness was no longer solely her responsibility. As the father changed, the mother also noticed a profound shift in her view and attitude toward the family. She no longer confined herself to just the roles of a mother and wife, but learned to balance her own needs with the responsibilities of the family. She wasn't just the family's pillar. She had to be her own pillar too. She began to carve out time for herself, doing things she loved: traveling, reading, and even writing down the words she had always longed to write. These seemingly simple actions brought her immense fulfillment and a sense of freedom. The children also felt the change. The relationship between the mother and them became more equal and intimate, no longer based solely on guidance and discipline, but mutual support and understanding. The mother began discussing life topics with the children, sharing her own experiences and insights. The children began to understand their mother's struggles and sacrifices. They grew more mature and started taking on more responsibility at home, helping their mother with chores and caring about the little details of family life. One day, the mother and father took the children on a short weekend trip. It wasn't a grand vacation, but for them, it held special meaning. As the car drove, the scenery passed by quickly, but inside, everyone was talking joyfully, sometimes laughing, sometimes lost in their own thoughts. The mother looked out the window, feeling a sense of long-lost relaxation and peace. She knew that this journey wasn't just a physical trip, but a journey of the heart, one that allowed them to rediscover their mutual understanding and warmth. When they returned home, the mother and father sat on the balcony at night, quietly watching the stars. The father gently held her hand and asked, "How do you feel about the changes we've made in the past few months?" The mother smiled softly, her eyes shining with a sense of fulfillment. "We've come a long way, but this is just the beginning. I believe we will only get better." Her heart was full of hope. The future of their family still held many uncertainties, but she knew that no matter what, they had found real support and understanding between each other. They had learned how to stand firm in the storm, how to find resonance in the silence, and how to walk hand in hand through challenges. The mother took a deep breath, feeling a peace and strength she had never known before. As the family bonds deepened, the interactions between the mother and her husband grew more harmonious and profound. The small things in life no longer became the source of arguments and misunderstandings, but were opportunities to strengthen their emotional connection. Whenever challenges arose, the mother and father faced them together, hand in hand. They had learned not to let work or outside pressures affect the family atmosphere, but instead always relied on their family as their most important support. The deep affection between the mother and father became even more apparent. They would go for walks together after dinner, sharing the events of the day and discussing the joys and sorrows of life. Sometimes her husband would take her to the park for a walk or arrange a short trip on the weekends. Every shared experience brought them closer together. Asterisk as the children grew older. The mother also noticed changes in their relationships within the family. The children became more considerate, showing concern for their mother's emotions and learning to help with household chores. The atmosphere at home became warmer, with each family member contributing their part to the harmony of the household. But the mother knew that this peace and happiness weren't gifts from fate, but were maintained through the collective effort of the entire family. The relationships within the family required constant nurturing, and each person needed to invest emotionally in the relationship. She no longer saw herself solely as a household manager, but had learned to enjoy the love and support given by her family as a member of that family. This rebuilding strength not only changed the mother, but also transformed the entire family. Each member grew stronger with each other's support. The relationship between the mother and father became even more intimate, and the children matured, realizing that family is not just a place to live, but a place of emotional refuge, the strongest support for one another. One day, the mother sat on the living room sofa, watching her husband and children cleaning up the house together, feeling a warm sense of fulfillment. She no longer felt like she was silently sacrificing for her family, but felt that she was enjoying the love and support given by her loved ones. She knew that the harmony of the family was not only about material satisfaction, but also about the sincerity and resonance from each person's heart. The mother sighed softly, feeling peace in her heart. She and her husband exchanged a smile, and in their eyes there was mutual understanding and support. She knew that, no matter what the future held, she and her family would always face it together, hand in hand. No matter how the storm raged, the family would always be her strongest support dot in the following days. The mother began to experience a sense of peace and contentment like never before. She watched her husband and children, each contributing their part to the family, and realized that she no longer had to bear the weight of everything alone. She understood that family happiness doesn't rely solely on her efforts, but on everyone's participation and support. Each family member had found their role and responsibility, and the family was no longer a one-way giving process, but a mutual support system. Asterisk, the mother started to cherish the time spent with her family more and more. She no longer saw herself as the sole pillar of the family, but as someone who had found her place. Within a system of mutual support, she and her husband often took evening walks together, sharing thoughts and feelings, discussing plans and dreams for the future. They were no longer just husband and wife, but the closest of friends, filled with understanding and trust in their relationship. The changes in the children also filled the mother with pride. They were becoming more mature and independent, gradually learning to take on responsibilities at home. Every time they helped with chores or showed concern for their mother's feelings, the mother felt deeply grateful and fulfilled. She knew that she wasn't just their mother, but a witness to their growth and a supporter of their journey. She felt proud of their independence, but also thankful for their warmth and care. Soon after, the mother and father decided to take the children on a trip, spending a joyful holiday together. This simple decision held deep significance. The trip was not just for relaxation, but to strengthen their connection and create more shared memories. Each departure filled the mother with anticipation for the time spent with her family, for the peace and warmth that had often been forgotten in the busy routine of life after the trip. The mother truly understood that a family is not a place of perfection. It has its ups and downs. But it is precisely through these ups and downs that the family's bonds become deeper and stronger. Every member's growth and transformation were powered by their mutual support. The mother realized that home is a place that requires constant building and maintenance. It holds love, hope, and each person's expectations for the future. Standing by the window, the mother looked out at the calm night sky, and a deep sense of peace washed over her. She knew that no matter what the future held, she was no longer alone. Family was her strongest support, and she would always be her family's most steadfast supporter. As time passed, the mother noticed her relationship with her husband growing stronger and deeper. They were no longer just life partners, but the deepest support for each other's hearts. Whenever life threw challenges their way, they faced them together, no longer fighting alone. The mother realized that family was her most solid support, and she, in turn, provided endless support to her husband and children. The changes in the children also filled the mother with pride and joy. She saw them becoming more independent while also understanding the importance of family. They began to actively participate in daily life, sharing the household responsibilities and caring for their parents' health and emotions. The mother was no longer the one who gave endlessly without recognition, but someone who enjoyed growing with her family. She learned to communicate with her children on equal terms, respecting their ideas and gradually letting go, giving them more autonomy and choices in life. Meanwhile, her husband became more considerate and caring. He was no longer just the provider of the family, but her emotional partner and the mentor to their children's growth. In every ordinary day, he would take on household chores, Or when the mother felt tired, he would take the children out for a walk or to a movie, giving her more time to rest. Their relationship was no longer just about responsibilities and obligations, but had evolved into one built on deep love and mutual respect. Every weekend, the mother and father would set aside time to do activities together with the children, such as going to the beach, hiking in the mountains, cooking together, or simply sitting together at home, sharing their thoughts. The mother realized that these simple moments not only brought them closer, but also made her see the unbreakable emotional bond between them. Each gathering was a reflection of their family's unity, and the mother felt deeply fulfilled and content. One weekend, they took a trip to a picturesque small town. The air was fresh, surrounded by lush green mountains, and sunlight filtered through the clouds, warming the earth with a serene glow. The mother and her family strolled through the town, feeling light-hearted and full of smiles. She watched her husband and children laughing and chatting under the sun, and a sense of long-lost happiness filled her heart. She realized that this simple happiness was the life she had always longed for. That evening, the mother and father sat in a cafe in the small town, gazing at the stars, enjoying the quiet moments together. She rested her head on her husband's shoulder and softly said, "We've really been through so much and faced many difficulties, but now I feel like it was all worth it." Her husband smiled, holding her hand gently, and responded, "Yes, every step we've taken has made us stronger. No matter what the future holds, we have each other." The mother's heart was filled with gratitude and contentment. She knew that the happiness of her family did not come from external perfection, but from the sincerity and effort of each family member. The bond between her husband, and their children had become deeper and more resilient. She understood that the future still held challenges and difficulties, but no matter what, she was ready to face each tomorrow with her family. The mother sat by the window at home, sunlight streaming through and gently warming her face. Her gaze wandered over the distant mountains, filled with an infinite sense of anticipation for the future. She was no longer the one who only gave for the family, never considering her own needs. Now, she had learned to balance her dreams with the responsibilities of the family. She no longer felt the weight of life's burdens, but instead felt filled with excitement and hope for what lay ahead. She and her husband had more conversations about their shared future. They talked about life after retirement, about traveling, seeing more places, and experiencing more of life. These conversations filled the mother's heart with excitement. She realized that she wasn't just living for the family. She needed to create possibilities for her own future too. She had emerged from the role of the sacrificial figure, and now she was planning for herself, pursuing those dreams that had been neglected for so long. The future of her children also filled the mother with new expectations. She watched them mature and begin to understand that they each had their own life path. She no longer tried to control everything they did, but became their supporter, helping them explore their own paths. She started respecting their choices and encouraging them to pursue their dreams, rather than imposing her own standards on them. The mother knew that her children's growth was an independent process, and her responsibility was to guide and support them, not to control them. She and her husband were also more actively planning their future lives, not just their home, but through travel and new experiences that would enrich their lives. They planned to travel more, to see different cultures, to engage in more activities. The mother felt that these weren't just simple trips, but part of their shared journey through life. Every trip, every new experience would deepen their understanding and emotions, making them appreciate what they had even more. One evening, the mother and father sat on the terrace, looking at the stars above, deeply feeling the beauty of life. They spoke of future plans, discussing those distant dreams that now seemed within reach. The husband softly said, "We've come so far, haven't we? I believe every day in the future will be something we create together." The mother nodded, tears of happiness in her eyes. "Yes, we've come this far, and we will go even further." Her heart was full of peace, with a strength and confidence she had never felt before. She knew that while the future still held uncertainty, she was ready to face it with her family, to meet every new challenge and opportunity. The strength of her family had made her fearless. She no longer felt alone on the road ahead, because she knew that no matter what came, her family would always stand behind her, giving her strength to face each new spring, summer, fall, and winter. As time passed, the mother felt the bond between her and her family growing ever stronger. Her relationship with her husband had transformed from merely a marital bond into one based on deep friendship and trust. They supported each other, facing life's storms together and sharing the warmth and tranquility of everyday moments. No matter what the future held, they knew that each other's companionship and support were the most important. The mother's heart grew more resolute, and she no longer feared the challenges of the unknown. She was no longer swayed by external pressures. She knew that as long as the family worked together, nothing was insurmountable. The support and courage her husband and children gave her made her determined to reciprocate in kind, becoming their strongest support. The mother also began to focus more on her personal growth, striving to enhance the quality of her life. She rediscovered her love for art, enrolling in a painting course, and continued reading books that sparked her interest during her free time. She found that the fulfillment this personal achievement brought her was deeper than any material satisfaction. She started to clarify her life goals and took action toward fulfilling them. Her children also gradually came to realize that family was not just the responsibility of the parents, but a shared effort from every member. The mother and father had given them ample support and love, teaching them how to care for others and how to take responsibility within the family. Every time the children took the initiative to help with household chores or shared their troubles and dreams with their mother, she felt immense joy. They were no longer the fragile and incomplete family they once were, but a stronger, more resilient unit. The mother understood that family happiness wasn't about perfection, but about countless small efforts coming together. Every member gave and supported each other, each finding their own balance and growing together. As the family continued to strengthen its bonds, the mother and father discussed their future plans. They began considering where and how they wanted to travel, even discussing what life would look like after retirement. The mother no longer focused solely on the future of her children. She started thinking about her own life's blueprint. She knew that her future was equally important, and that only by achieving her own goals could she truly support her family in return. One evening, the mother and father sat on the sofa, gazing at the starry sky outside the window, talking about their dreams and future. The husband softly asked, "How do you see our future?" The mother smiled at him, her eyes sparkling with hope. "Our future is full of endless possibilities, and will go further together." As the days passed, the mother gradually realized that family wasn't just a warm haven, but a lasting covenant. This covenant was silent, yet deeply rooted in the hearts of every member. Each person played a unique role within the family, collectively creating their own harmony and happiness. The mother no longer relied on external validation, but came to understand that the understanding and support within her family were her most valuable support. She began to have deeper conversations with her husband, no longer just discussing household matters, but exploring their dreams and desires deep within their hearts. Her husband's understanding and support made her feel incredibly at peace, especially when facing the uncertainties of the future. She realized that family was not only the children's reliance, but also the bond that supported the relationship between husband and wife. She began to recognize that her relationship with her husband had evolved beyond responsibility into something built on profound love and trust. As the children grew older, the mother noticed their increasing understanding of family. Each child began to find their place in their own world, while also learning how to care for each member of the family. The mother was no longer the sole bearer of responsibility. The children started taking initiative in household chores, caring for their parents' health and emotional needs. Whenever she saw how independent and mature her children had become, She felt immense pride and gratitude one cold winter evening. The mother and father sat by the fireplace, watching the children, gathered around, listening to stories. The glow from the fire illuminated everyone's face, warm and serene. The husband gently asked, "What do you think about our family?" The mother looked at him, her eyes full of appreciation. "I feel we've done everything we could. The most important thing is we're still together, and we've made it to today." She paused and added, "I know there will be more challenges ahead, but I believe as long as we're together, we can face anything." Her husband smiled, holding her hand, and replied, "No matter what comes, we will walk through it together. We've learned how to face storms and find light even in difficult times." In that moment, the mother felt a sense of fulfillment and peace she had never known before. She knew that family happiness was not perfect, but it was a profound emotional bond, something created by each person through mutual understanding and tolerance. Behind all of this was the power of love, trust, and support. And this power made her confident that, no matter how uncertain the future may be, she would walk it with her family. The mother felt that the pace of life was steadily moving forward. Each small step was the result of her family's collective effort. In this warm family relationship, she found her deepest comfort and strength. She realized that this wasn't achieved overnight, but was the result of each person's dedication and the accumulation of small efforts, which had created the harmony they now enjoyed. Her relationship with her husband had evolved from a simple marriage to the strongest partnership. They had become more attentive to each other's needs and feelings, learning to be more considerate and understanding. Whenever her husband took on more responsibilities for the family, the mother felt deep gratitude. And when she was tired, he would always step in to share the load. They no longer relied solely on one another, but approached their relationship with a sense of equality and respect. The mother saw the gentleness in her husband's eyes growing every day, and her heart was filled with a deep sense of comfort. As the family became more harmonious, the children also matured and grew more independent. She noticed how they were not only taking on more responsibility in the household, but also becoming more understanding of their parents' hard work. They no longer depended on their parents for everything. They learned to take care of themselves and contribute more to family matters. Whether it was small household chores or offering emotional support to their parents, their growth had moved beyond material needs, and their understanding of family had deepened into emotional support. The mother had finally found true balance in her daily life. She no longer saw herself as a sacrificial figure in the family, but felt like an integral part of the family, sharing the responsibility and duties with everyone. She started to focus more on her own interests and dreams, no longer revolving solely around the family. She and her husband began discussing travel plans, exploring the world beyond their home, and also taking the children with them to experience broader horizons. During this journey, the mother not only rediscovered herself, but also learned to cherish the moments spent with her family. She began to learn how to balance personal life with family life, how to find space for herself while still giving to her family. She understood that family happiness wasn't about one person's sacrifices, but about the collective effort of everyone. She and her husband had evolved from being the parents to true partners, and the children had learned to support and accompany their parents. Soon after, the mother and father took their children to a new city, enjoying a short and peaceful holiday, though the trip was not far from their hometown. It gave them a valuable opportunity to reassess one another and feel the warmth that had been neglected in everyday life. Everyone slowed down, quietly taking in everything around them. And the mother felt a long-lost peace, realizing that every small moment in life was beautiful. Sitting in a quiet cafe, listening to the gentle footsteps on the street and the distant birds singing, the mother knew that no matter how uncertain life might be, her family would always be her most solid support. The bond between her husband, and their children had already deepened and taken root. And on this strong emotional foundation, the mother believed their future would only get brighter. After returning home, the mother felt a deep sense of peace and contentment within herself. She realized that the meaning of family wasn't just about daily companionship and interaction, but about being a place where souls could rest. Everyone in the family had found their place, feeling the love and support of each other. She and her husband discussed future plans, starting to plan for their children's education, family trips, and shared dreams. They no longer focused solely on the present, but began thinking long term. How to keep the family's unity through the changes in life, and how to still give each other enough space and love amidst the busy pace. The mother knew that all of this wasn't by chance, but the result of each person's continuous effort within the family. She was grateful for the understanding and support her husband gave her, and she thanked her children for their independence and growth. She no longer felt anxious about every choice or decision they made, but instead had learned to respect and support them, understanding their thoughts and feelings. She also understood that her children would have their own paths to follow, and her role would be that of a supporter, helping them become the best versions of themselves. As time passed, each family member found their position, and the relationships within the family grew deeper and more intimate. The mother felt a long-lost sense of stability. She and her husband were no longer lost, but had a clearer sense of their responsibilities and roles. They had learned how to find balance in life and how to support each other in both family and personal growth. One quiet afternoon, the mother and father sat on the balcony, watching their children play in the garden, their hearts filled with a serene joy. She knew that no matter what challenges life may bring, she was ready to face them with her family. No matter how the world changed, she always knew that home was her eternal haven, and her family was her irreplaceable support dot as the sun slowly set. The mother gently rested her head on her husband's shoulder, smiling at the scene in front of her. She deeply felt the peace and happiness of the moment. We've come so far, and it was all worth it, she whispered. Her husband gently looked at her and softly responded, "Yes, it was all worth it. We will walk into a brighter tomorrow together."